Back in the early days of our relationship, my fiancé and I were still living with our parents. Privacy was scarce, and finding any place to be alone was more of a challenge than you'd expect. One day, out of desperation for uninterrupted time together, we reached out to a mutual friend who had a bit of a rebellious streak and knew all the quiet spots around town. We figured she'd have suggestions, and she didn't disappoint. She told us about this stretch of rural road just outside town. According to her, it was the kind of place people went when they didn't want to be disturbed. Long, narrow, and lined with only a handful of houses, mostly surrounded by farmland and abandoned barns. She assured us that once the sun went down, no one used the road except maybe the people who lived along it. It seemed like exactly what we needed. One late evening, driven by curiosity and more than a little romantic impulse, we decided to check it out. As we approached the entrance of the road, an immediate heaviness settled over us. Our stomachs knotted with nervous tension, the kind you can't quite explain but try to rationalize away. We assumed it was just jitters from sneaking away to do something we weren't used to. The road, it turned out, was pitch black. No streetlights, no nearby porch lights, just a faint glow of our headlights carving a narrow path ahead. We decided to drive the entire length of the road first, about a mile or so, just to make sure we were really alone. Nothing but silence and darkness. It was a place frozen in time, untouched by the chaos of city life. Once we reached the end and confirmed there were no other cars or signs of activity, we turned around and made our way back to a spot near the entrance to park. Still, the anxiety persisted. We both felt it, an uncanny pressure in the air, as if the night itself were holding its breath. I tried to ignore the pounding in my chest, chalking it up to nerves, while my fiancé, who's usually the calm one, admitted he felt it too. That struck me. He's not the type to get easily spooked. He's level-headed, rational, rarely anxious about anything. But in that moment, standing beside the car in the middle of nowhere, even he looked uneasy. We talked about it for a few minutes, trying to laugh it off, trying to convince ourselves it was just unfamiliarity, just nerves about being somewhere new, doing something a little bold. But even during our time there, the tension never really let up. It was like we were being watched, though by what we couldn't say. Eventually, we gave up on the idea of staying. The discomfort outweighed the thrill, and we left, agreeing that maybe this road wasn't the right place after all. Despite what we had agreed, time passed, and well, hormones are persuasive. About 2 weeks later, we found ourselves talking again about that road. Maybe we were just paranoid that first time. Maybe we had worked ourselves up for no reason. Curiosity mixed with desire led us to try again. The second drive, there was eerily similar to the first. Quiet, dark, tense. This time, though, it was heavier. The moment we turned onto the road, the weight on our chests returned, only worse. It felt like the kind of pressure you get when you know you're somewhere you shouldn't be. Instead of immediately looking for a place to stop, we decided to just cruise the road like one of our usual late-night drives. We told ourselves we were just exploring the area. But then, in the spirit of experimentation, my fiancé suggested we park again. Not for anything serious this time, but just to feel the vibe of the place. He wanted to see if the unease would pass once we got used to the setting. So we pulled off to the side of the road and turned off the car completely. No headlights, no interior lights, just the dense silence of the countryside pressing against the windows. Gradually, our eyes adjusted to the darkness, and things started to feel a bit more playful. We joked around, dared each other to open the car doors, laughed about the creepy setting. At one point, my fiancé turned to me and asked, should I go stand in the middle of the road for a few seconds? It was meant to be a joke, but something about it felt wrong. I didn't hesitate. No, I told him firmly. Don't do that. I didn't know why, but my gut was screaming not to let him step outside. He listened. Looking back, I wonder what might have happened if he had. We both admitted as we sat in that car that we still felt watched. It wasn't overpowering like before, but it was there, a lingering awareness, like unseen eyes were locked on us from somewhere out in the fields or the trees. After a few more minutes, we decided to head out. He turned the car back on, we drove to the end of the road to turn around, and began making our way back toward the entrance. The entire loop couldn't have taken more than 2 minutes. But when we reached the spot where we had just been parked, there was a car sitting there. Not our car, another car, parked almost exactly where we had been, maybe 20 feet away. We hadn't passed anyone on the way down. No headlights had come up behind us. It didn't make sense. Maybe they just pulled in while we were turning around. My fiancé offered weakly. We slowed as we passed the vehicle, peering into the windows. There was no one inside. The car sat motionless, lights off, windows fogged ever so slightly by the cool night air. But inside, completely empty. No driver, no passengers, just a vehicle in the dark. We didn't speak for a moment. We were both processing it in real time, our thoughts racing in silence. The only sound was the hum of our engine. Slowly, we pulled away, our eyes glued to the rearview mirror. How did they even get there that fast? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "There's no way they parked and got out without us seeing them. We were gone 2 minutes. There's nowhere they could have gone without crossing in front of us." The logic didn't add up. We'd have seen their headlights if they pulled in. We'd have seen them walking if they left. But there was nothing. Just that strange, empty car, exactly where we had just been sitting. We considered one possibility. That maybe the car had approached us from behind, with its lights off, parking quietly while we were sitting there in darkness. That idea made our skin crawl. Who would do that? Why? Trying to calm ourselves, we convinced each other that it had to be a coincidence. Someone else just looking for privacy. But still, the way it had appeared and disappeared didn't feel coincidental at all. Within minutes, we found ourselves turning back to check. If the car was still there, we could tell ourselves it was nothing. Just a quiet visitor. No big deal. But as we reached the entrance of the road again, the car was gone. Gone. Not only that, but fresh tire tracks in the gravel showed exactly where it had been parked and how quickly it had left. It had peeled off in a hurry, kicking up dust in its wake. We didn't waste time. We turned the car around and drove straight home. That night, and many nights after, we tried to piece it together, try to find a rational thread that would unravel the unease. But there wasn't one. We kept coming back to how we had been casually opening our doors earlier. How he nearly stepped out into the darkness. How someone, or something, might have been just beyond our sight the entire time. Maybe it was all harmless. Maybe it was just another car and a nervous coincidence. But in our hearts, we both knew something was off. There was a presence on that road, a quiet watcher, and we were lucky to leave untouched. Even now, we still talk about that night. Not with fear, exactly, but with that haunted feeling you get when you know something was wrong and still can't explain it. Some places have stories, and some roads remember. That one we'll never drive again.